All right, let's expand the scope of the discussion about enforcement as promised before the break. And we go to Ado-Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital, where we're joined by the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum and governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Fayemi. Dr. Fayemi, thank you for your time and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Ladi.
Congratulations. You are also a survivor of COVID-19. Just before coming to you now, we saw the return of Mr. Onyema, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. What was the experience like for you with COVID-19?
Well, I'm glad that my brother Jeffrey Onyema is out. I spoke to him earlier in the day myself because we were both monitoring each other since our period in confinement literally coincided. Well, my experience was rather shocking to me. I not that I didn't believe that the COVID-19 problem is real. I've been campaigning in Ekiti. I've been at the forefront telling our people that we need to took it seriously. I couldn't even put my finger on where I contracted the virus, but it knocked me out, and it started with a bout of almost permanent headache, and eventually led to delirium, some hallucination, and almost borderline depression, which you could associate with my isolation and perhaps the drugs I was taking. But I was also fortunate that there were really no serious symptoms for me, such as has been experienced by other people. I never had to go on any ventilator. My oxygen level did not go below 90, and my temperature that went up in the initial days came back to normal and oscillated between 36.8 and 37.2. But the psychological impact of COVID-19 is something that we haven't been talking much about. And I think that's the area that, in addition to the treatment plan, I think many of the patients, many of the survivors that I've interacted with also experience what I experienced in terms of the psychological impact. And we may need to also use the services of clinical psychologists and psychiatrists in managing COVID-19 patients, because I think it affects the central nervous system, and this also has its deleterious effect on the psychological state of those who contracted the disease.
Now, from there, I want to take up the issue of enforcement and compliance, because in your answer now, you talked about the fact that you'd been campaigning for this. It's almost 6 months now since COVID-19 first made its appearance in Nigeria. To be precise, it came in February 27th. And since then, there's been enlightenment, awareness, and so on. But last week, through the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, President Buhari gave a directive and asked state governors to implement the wearing. He was very particular about the wearing of face masks in their individual sub-national levels, that's at the state levels. As chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, what are the governors doing about that? Because as we've seen from many states, compliance is almost non-existent.
Well, yes, I had Mr. President give that indication that people were not complying with the mask. But if you would recall that as a matter of fact, it was the Nigerian Governors Forum that first proposed the wearing of masks to the Presidential Task Force, and they embraced it. They agreed with us that it was an important step to take, and I know for a fact that in virtually all our states, the wearing of masks has become compulsory. I know that we've prosecuted a number of people for non-wearing of masks in Ekiti, for example. And I know that we've also made available masks that we have produced ourselves to citizens of the state, including students who just returned to school a few days ago. So I think states are aware of the necessity for masks, and they've been promoting and campaigning for this to happen. And they've also been working on compliance. I can tell you that at every meeting of the Nigerian Governors Forum, we reiterate this point: wearing of masks, lockdown of boundaries, raising awareness with our population, ensuring that social distancing is enforced and people do not gather beyond 20. All of these are contained in our protocols at the level of the states. And I believe if there's been ineffective compliance in certain areas, well, our duty is to continue to insist that this should be enforced, and we will do that.
The others, of course, I'm happy you mentioned the fact that it's quite possible that there has been non-compliance. Only last week, going into this week, there were several incidents in different parts of the country where, yet again, the protocols were not observed. People were not wearing face masks. What you pointed out about people not being more than 20 at an event, there were some events at which there were hundreds, possibly thousands of people, and many of them not wearing any kind of masks that took place. And the PTF put the blame squarely on the governors for this, because they said it's at sub-national level that implementation is supposed to take place. I guess the question is this, Governor Fayemi: is there an agreed plan by the governors to ensure compliance? Because all the medical personnel we've spoken to insist that this issue of face masks is critical, but people are not complying. People are not complying with it.
There is an agreed plan, Laji, and I believe that state governments are adhering to the agreed plan that we have at the Nigerian Governors Forum. However, I do not think we should leave out the place of personal responsibility. Where is the personal responsibility of our citizens to protect themselves? Yes, we're responsible for public health protection of all of our citizens, but our people who are of an age to understand the enormity of the challenge that this constitutes also do have a responsibility to take their own health seriously. Part of the problem we have is that we have a population in which people believe that COVID-19 is an elite virus, which does not really affect the masses of our people, instead of acknowledging the fact that this is a virus that is no respecter of anyone, rich, poor, young or old. We have evidence, and doctors have consistently made it clear to us that it has affected people in all age range, and everyone should be encouraged to take personal responsibility. In addition to whatever we may do, in Ekiti, we prosecute people for not wearing masks. But I also know that not all of our people are happy that we do that, but we just feel that we have a duty, indeed a responsibility, as the elected authority in this state to protect our people. And we take mask wearing very seriously. But even here where we take it serious, I cannot put my hand on my chest and tell you that if I walk into villages, I would not find people who do not take mask wearing serious. The reality is that government cannot be everywhere, but we do try our best to ensure that people adhere to the protocol that we have put out there for them.
I want to ask you also about the issue of funding and finance. Many of your colleagues in the Governors Forum have asked the federal government to facilitate some kind of funding to help cushion the effects of COVID-19 and to help with the process of continuing the containment strategy for COVID-19. It was in most of the media that the World Bank has made available about $114 million. And the story is that that money is specifically meant as grants to states. What's the plan for the use of that money with regards to COVID-19?
Okay, thank you very much, Yori. For us to succeed in the management and containment of COVID-19, we need a national strategy. We do not need a federal government strategy and sub-national strategy. We need a coordinated national strategy to deal with this. It is not completely correct that the World Bank has given states $114 million. What you may have read in the newspapers is that the board of the World Bank has approved $114 million, most of which will go to states to help them with the management and containment of COVID-19. However, it takes a little bit of time between approval of the board and disbursement to the states concerned, which will probably still go through the National Center for Disease Control, which is the vehicle through which the World Bank has been engaging with us, even though we also have our own direct engagement with the World Bank. So clearly, we commend the World Bank for that, and we're still awaiting that support. But let me add that what has happened to date is that World Bank through the NCDC has made available 100 million naira support to each of our states. But not all the states have accessed this fund. Only 16 states have done so within the Nigerian Governors Forum. Others eventually would access the fund, and this would help with the incident action plan that every single state has developed as their plan to manage COVID-19. But as you can see, the number is increasing every day. We now have 14,000 and almost 1,000 deaths. So states do not even have a sense of where this is going to end, when the vaccine will come, when we can be free from COVID-19 virus infection. And that is the challenge. There is no clear line of sight that we can say this is the destination and this is where it's going to stop and this is the amount that we need. And we keep spending money every day in the state, money that we did not budget for at the beginning of this year. And you would have noticed that almost every state has had to put in place a supplementary budget for their state in light of what COVID-19 has done in disrupting the budget that was put in place in January by every state. But that's the reality we're dealing with. We also must look at opportunities in this adversity and reorder our priorities and ensure that states run in an effective and efficient manner. If COVID-19 is what will make us do that, improve our health infrastructures, support our personnel, then so be it. We should take advantage of this challenge.
Thank you very much, Governor Kayode Fayemi, Chairman, Governors Forum, Nigerian Governors Forum, and Governor of Ekiti. Thank you for your time on the program, and have a good evening, and continue to stay safe.
Thank you, Ladi. Continue to stay safe too.